Already on.
What's up, guys? My name is Marco, reporting for the True Channel with me, Sam, Pastor Sam, who's in a undisclosed location right now. Beautiful, beautiful place he's at, but he is reporting because there is news now. There is something happening in Venezuela, and as you guys know, he's been following all the Latin America countries. He is always keeping us on what's going on, and they had told us that this week it was going to be a week, an intense week, and I guess this might be part of it, Pastor. What do you think?
Yes, the virus is getting up towards its peak. Hopefully, it hits the peak and comes back down. But what we're really here to report on is military activity. There have been beach assaults. There have been jungle assaults against Maduro's dictatorship, against his regime. This is a criminal. His government's illegal. He's been rejected by the civilized world, and now the people of Venezuela are standing up to fight. So we gotta pray for them today. They've named their operation Operation Gideon, which is of course a hero of the Bible who was a small man and a weak man, and he didn't have enough men with him. But the Lord helped them, and so we can hope that happens right here, right now. So we're going to debunk a lot of myths. There's a lot of incorrect information about this. If you surf around the news, you'll see the Al Jazeera RT story that it's all CIA, that it's a nation building and empire building, and that the USA is trying to disrupt a legitimate and legal government, and none of that's true. So we're going to tell the real story of the freedom fighters. Some of them are Americans. Some of them are Venezuelan Americans, and some of them are Venezuelans that taking a long risk here to go up against Maduro's Russian-backed empire and all of his armored vehicles. But at the very least, they're going to go home and they're going to bleed and die on their own soil. So we're going to talk about it right here today.
I was talking to a friend that, well, you know that the True Channel, part of it's a family that owns the channel, but they came from Venezuela, so they're watching right now. They know we're gonna be watching, and yeah, there is a lot of we gotta watch out because a lot of it could be Maduro himself putting things, making himself look like
right. He's gonna cling to legitimacy however he can. But, he's a wanted man with a price on his head. So we're going to break it all down. We're going to talk about Jordan Jodo, the American decorated soldier, Army, Green Beret, did tours in Afghanistan and in Iraq. He has set up part of this and helped organize these indigenous Venezuelan soldiers and people that gathered in Colombia to go and take their homeland back. And now it's time for the rest of the world to get in. Mr. Trump, we want some Tomahawk strikes. We want some naval gunfire. We want some air support immediately. We know that the Pentagon is watching on the satellite, and there's going to be reprisals. These colectivos, these motorcycle gangs that are government-backed, they're going to go out in the streets and thump heads and murder people looking for anybody who's helping these revolutionaries. And we want them hit. We want them hit hard. We want them hit by day and by night. We want them hit right now. We want support. Mr. Trump, we elected you because we did not want another Benghazi. And you know who was in Benghazi screaming for help? A Mexican, Cristano Pirano, a great Mexican-American and a descendant of illegal immigrants who struggled for their citizenship and finally got it. And we elected you, Mr. Trump, so that you would not leave our people and legitimate freedom fighters out there without any support. We want missile strikes now against command and control structures, against aircraft on the ground, against any of these colectivos, and against massed infantry in Venezuela. Please, please, please. It's very important that this threat to security in the hemisphere is dealt with.
Pastor, who are the actors here? Who are we looking at? Who are the groups? Because they were telling us also that there's some barrios there that are also fighting. There's some news that there's fire on the streets right now in Venezuela. There's a lot going on.
Well, okay, this is what we hope. we hope that the revolution catches fire. But you know, there's been a long process of them weeding out every strongman and everyone who is capable to fight, and every person who looked like they were going to organize resistance. They've been killed. They've been driven out of the country. And so now you're dealing with a people whose will is broken. And hopefully, they will wax strong in the fight. They don't have weapons either. You know, the least thing that a civilized neighbor nation can do, and we're talking not only the United States, we're talking Peru, we're talking Bolivia, we're talking Ecuador. A lot of people don't know that today at 11:30 local time, President Lenin Moreno of Ecuador, a good friend of President Donald Trump and a security partner, he had a meeting of his security apparatus in Ecuador. And when I saw that, I thought there is more to this. It's not just about the virus. So the nation of Ecuador is meeting with their top generals and their top civilian politicians, and they're trying to figure out what to do. Well, the people of Venezuela need weapons. They need external support, and they need fire support. You know, we can do that.
Losing Pastor a little bit here, but let me see. I want to wait.
Migrant threat was organized.
Can you hear me, Pastor?
Are we still on here? I can hear you. You disappeared for a short while. So while you're organizing that, let me jump in with a little bit of a history lesson. I'm on a street called Paseo Bolivar. A lot of Americans don't know that all of the Latin America followed our example after 1776. It took 30 years, but then in 1806, the first independence movement sprung up. 1810, it happened here in Mexico, and right up the street, the organizers of that, the insurgentes, were shot to death. They were killed by firing squad, executed. But in South America, there was a very long revolution to drive the Spanish and the Portuguese out of one place after another. And this street that I'm on is named for that. This is the Paseo Bolivar. It's a beautiful place, and everything is named Bolivar, Bolivar. And there's a statue. I would have to leave my Wi-Fi range to get to it, but there's a statue of Simon Bolivar, the Liberator. And this is the George Washington of South America. He is the one who fought war after war after war to get South America into self-government, into free nations. And then he founded a place called Gran Colombia, which includes modern-day Venezuela, Ecuador, and Colombia. And their colors are these colors, red, yellow, and blue. So I'm dressed in the colors of the Venezuelan flag and of all the flags of Gran Colombia. A lot of Americans don't know that these nations come in clusters, that parts of Central America, they're separate nations now, they were one nation, and so their flags bear similarities, and the same thing in South America. These nations that were part of Gran Colombia, they all have the blue, red, and yellow flag, and so that's why they're similar. The flag of Colombia, of Ecuador, which has those colors in the condor, and then the flag of Venezuela, which has an arc of 7 stars, and then Chavez put on an 8th star. You know, they always got to complicate the history. So this is a historic revolution. This is 1776 worldwide, and we need to know it for what it is. This building behind me is called the Quinta Camaros. It's one of the most popular tourist attractions in this city, and it's a place that I hate because it is a monument to the wealthy ruling class, to the super rich oligarchs who ruled Mexico in conjunction with European emperors. And these are the people that were driven out. These are the people that the revolutionaries fought in this city and killed in the streets. Some of them they drove into exile. Some of them they punished and allowed to live. But this building, to me, is a monument to the slavery, to the slaves that built it. And you know, Marco, the same people that built this as slaves went up the street during and after the revolution and and built the famous Tumba de Villa, the famous tomb of revolutionary General Pancho Villa. And so it's built in the same style with cut marble blocks, and it's very ornate. But the same people that were enslaved to build this building built the tomb of Villa out of love. So here I am on the Paseo Bolivar, and today the Bolivarian Revolution continues. You know, the nation of Venezuela is technically called the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela because they pretend to be the successors and in the same spirit as Simon Bolivar, but really they're ruling oligarchy, and the real Bolivarian revolution is these men that are assaulting the jungles and assaulting the beaches. It's happening today. There's a lot of fake news out about this. The fake news makes this out to not be a popular movement. They make them out to be mercenaries. You know, Jordan Jurdo was on, he gave an interview yesterday, and I sent you that link. I hope you can put it on the show so that people can see in English and Spanish what Jordan himself, this Canadian-born, decorated United States Army Green Beret, what he had to say about the misinformation campaign. They call him a mercenary, and sure enough, he did have a contract with the government signed by Juan Guaido, and he presented that contract in the interviews that he gave. They have just been published in the last 18 hours. Those interviews came out. This guy really was not paid. He was supposed to get paid, but time went on. He didn't get his money. He was supposed to get $1.5 million to train and feed these troops in the Colombian jungle. Well, he didn't get it, but he did the job anyhow, because he's a freedom fighter, because he's fought in Iraq and fought in Afghanistan, and he's a great American, and all he wants to do is see people live free. And so he's given his time. He's risked his life. And now these people have made the assault. Really, their base had been discovered. And this is a time that we can talk about the swamp in Colombia, too.
What's his name? Jordan what?
Jurdo, G-E-A-U-R-D.
Jurdo.
It's
okay.
French.
Okay.
Yeah. It has all the vowels in it, I think, maybe except for one.
Wow.
If he was Mexican, I could spell it for sure.
Pastor, it just amazes me how you have compiled all this information of Latin America and how they have liberated, how we have liberated ourselves. And yeah, Simon Bolivar it's a great figure. I talked to any of my brothers and sisters from South America, and they all have this guy on a pedestal.
He's larger than life, and I'll take a picture of the monument that's up the road that the Mexicans built to honor this patriarch of a fellow, a neighbor nation and a brother nation, of really several brother nations. He's the father of that whole area and fought the Spanish in war after war and drove them out on horseback. So yes, a tremendous deliverer. They wanted to call him president, just like George Washington. They wanted to call him by honorific titles after he had liberated those areas and built Gran Colombia. And he said, no title could be greater than the title of Libertador, of liberator. And so today he's known as Bolivar Libertador, Simon Bolivar Libertador. In all the world, Simon Bolivar the liberator. And now in that history, in that spirit, these men have gone forth. And a lot of these are refugees that have been driven out of Venezuela. Look, they don't have MREs with Skittles in them, okay? These guys have been surviving in the jungle, hiding, because the Colombian authorities have been looking for them. Colombia is supposed to be our ally in this fight. And sure enough, if we were just going to build some poppy fields and grow some drugs and illegal traffic them someplace, then the CIA and the State Department would be 100% on board. But we know that that's the deep state. And so this is what Jordan Jurdo tells about, that there were fractures within the opposition government. There are politicians that are under threat, that are maybe under bribery, that have maybe completely lost the will to fight. And that's who he's got to deal with. And so even though he had a 70-page contract in English and Spanish signed by President Juan Guaido himself, he still was unable to get the funds to properly train and equip these men. And he still dealt with a fractured opposition in a country that was hostile to his attempts to liberate Venezuela. So we need to understand that the deep states live in large in this area. They are sabotaging attempts. And Mr. Trump, I hope you and the Pentagon are listening. Your own deep state and State Department people, your own allied government of Ivan Duque is resisting you and trying to prevent the people of Venezuela. Now, we're not talking about mercenaries and we're not talking about foreign soldiers. Colombia is trying to prevent Venezuelans from taking their own destiny in their own hands. And so they have had to embark really on what is a suicide mission. But Gideon's mission was a suicide mission too. Perhaps the help of God will arrive.
Here, Pastor, Mexico, El Universal is reporting that Maduro asegura que el objetivo del fallido incursión era to kill him.
Okay, now you see some military equipment and you see some blood on the rocks, and I believe that Maduro has put a defense and that he has killed some of these patriots. But the fact is, the invasion is ongoing. It was a multi-point invasion with numerous sea assault points and numerous jungle infiltration points, and the activation of cells that are already in Venezuela. And so it's far, far, far from stamped out. Now, why is that helicopter flying? This is where Uncle Sam needs to weigh in. If it flies, it dies. It's written on the wall at General Dynamics in your city in California, Marco, where we make our missiles. Why are his aircraft operational? This needs to stop right now. You know, the same sabotage that's happening.
This tweet is from Diosdado Cabello, and he tweeted about just a little bit ago. And so he's tweeting that they have apprehended, you know, it's in development, but they have apprehended some of this mercenaries, they're calling them.
I would like to remind the world that Diosdado Cabello is a wanted fugitive criminal with a $10 million price on his head. This is the time for Diosdado Cabello's lieutenants to put him in the helicopter and fly him out to the Caribbean. You know, you could just drop him in the water near a Navy ship and collect your 10 million. Easy day. So this is the time for the revolution to catch fire. This is time for the people that love their nation and love their patria in Venezuela, in the military, to grab people like Diosdado Cabello, like Nicolas Maduro himself. There's many, many wanted fugitives there, and Diosdado Cabello is one of them. We've already established all the international law. Because these military groups are drug traffickers, because they collude with Hezbollah, you know, al-Assimi is very much involved with Iran. Okay, these are the reprisals that we're going to see. We're going to see bloody reprisals, not arrests. We're going to see civilians murdered because it's been going on without military attacks. And now that there are attacks, those reprisals are going to be on the increase. And where is the United States? We need a C-130 in the air. We need naval gunfire. We need anti-aircraft fire immediately to support this. If these people know that the United States is with them, they will stand up and fight. The people that made this attack determined to die in their homeland rather than in exile.
Now,
so we'll see how it all goes out.
This video has been playing all morning on this Operation Gedeon. So
that's Gideon. Yes, Operation Gideon.
No es Gedeon.
Well, that's Spanish. You see the colors of the flags of Gran Colombia in those seals. Gideon's battle was hopeless too, but the Lord helped him. The Lord helped him. and they liberated their homeland in another day. I encourage everybody to get in and read it in Judges 6, 7, mainly Judges 6 and 7. If you get into the beginning of that, it tells about Gideon, how he was a small man, how his family was not wealthy or powerful, how they had nothing to eat, how he had to hide his grain. He was threshing his grain in secret, so his own farm products he had to hide because the Midianites, the enemies, would come in and take it. They had no animals. They weren't allowed to have that. It was slavery. It was the same thing that's happening in Venezuela today. It's all written in the Bible. But the angel of the Lord went to Gideon. And let's believe, let's hope that the angel of the Lord will help. Yes. Oh, you got the new international. That's the best we can do. Well, it's up there anyhow. So, the angel of the Lord.
Which one do you want to bring?
King James, please. I'll read it. You don't have to read it.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, the Lord helped them. And sometimes you need a little bit of help from the eye in the sky. And I really hope that this thing is not scuttled. I really hope that the United States does not betray these heroes of their own homeland. I really hope that more and more people sign up. You know, what if some Venezuelans in Florida, where there's very many, wanted to go down and help? What then? Would the United States government resist that? Or would we be so kind as to give them a ride? It's something that all of America and all the world really needs to be behind. These people are fighting for their homeland in a battle that's really hopeless. So we'll see who joins it. And it's time to pray. It's time to get on our knees and really get down and ask for the help of God, and ask that God would encourage the hearts of these people, that he would strengthen them in their inner man, and that they would rise up, because they've been prisoners for a long time, Mark. They've been beat up. They've been starved down. You see how skinny they all are. Every time you see videos of the rioters, son flacones, they're skin and bones. And you're talking about men in their 20s that should be beefy and strong, and parecen esqueletos. They look like skeletons. And so we need to believe that these people will wax strong in the fight. And really, we're the worst offenders as Americans. We're the ones that want to sit on the couch with the remote control and feel like we're part of the solution, like we're in on the action. You know, our theater churches have trained us to do that. They've taught us that we're part of it by sitting in our armchair and being an armchair quarterback. And the fact is, we all need to be getting on the phone, and we need to say, hey, He's out. The Americas put out a tweet, the Rio Treaty, which he referred to in his interviews yesterday. He said, listen, every other nation's treaty bound to help the Venezuelans to go in there and to restore the democratic order. It's already been signed. The treaty's already activated. Tratado Interamericano de Asistencia Reciprocal. Treaty, Inter-American Reciprocal Assistance Treaty. It's known as the Rio Treaty. And if anybody wants to look into the history of when all these documents were signed, just go to my Subscribestar, subscribestar.com/gospelgunslingers, and go down, and we teach about the TR Treaty, the activation of this, the Lima Group, the Rio Pact, on and on and on, and the Organization of American States, which is all for military intervention in Venezuela. So now the people have risen up to do it. And Donald Trump, what are you going to do? Look at them. They're being oppressed. These people are being oppressed by an illegal, illegitimate, drug trafficking, election stealing, swamp government. And if you won't stand up for them, what hope is in a banana republic? What hope is there for us in the US of A to liberate our own states from our communist governors and from the swamp that has so much power here? What hope do we have if we can't even deal with a banana republic? Come on, let's get some warheads on the ground. Let's get some gunfire. Let's get some fire support. We got a lot of 5-inch guns out there that can take care of these shore defenses. We know how to do it. Let's hammer them. Let's get it done.
Pastor, what do you think? What do you think this is going? I mean, it seems that the United States is putting pressure, but it's more like they're using diplomatic, and they just don't want to get physical. They don't want to send anybody in there.
Well, we've been making deals with the Russians, and here's the other thing: the Chinese are the real problem. See, Russia basically withdrew after the price was put on Maduro's head. And here again, the whole history of it's on my Subscribe Star, broken down, very easy to follow. Once the price was put on Maduro's head, within 48 hours on a Saturday, Rosneft, the Russian state-owned oil company, sold out of Venezuela. Now, they sold their assets to another Russian company, but this was a transaction on paper made to make a big statement that they were pulling out. You see, before, if we would have gone in and hit infrastructure, then Russia could have said, oh, you've hit us, you've attacked us. Well, once Rosneft sold out, then the Russians couldn't really say that anymore. So they legitimately, intentionally and willfully withdrew because Trump is making a deal with them. And we may owe them a little something as pertains to Ukraine. We'll wait for all that to come out, but there are rumors shaking around about a Ukraine for Venezuela swap. Thank you. It's always nice when somebody comes and says hi in English. So here's the deal. Russia pulled back, but China is thick as thieves in there. So the Venezuelans owed Russia like $1 billion or $2 billion, and they owed China 10 times as much. And so China's got a lot more money invested in Venezuela, and Russia's already really given up on the BRICS. But China wants to dominate the new currency that comes.
So Venezuela just announced
Go ahead, Marco.
That they captured Gustavo Adolfo Hernandez. So it seems that they're counterattacking.
Well, we need to understand that they're lying about a lot of things. Their first report from yesterday said that El Pantera was dead. And Jordan said, nah, I talked to him on my cell phone today. He says, Pantera is alive. He's alive and well, and he's in Venezuela, and he is fighting. He is fighting. So that's where Pantera is. So don't believe the fake news. You know, this is what Maduro has to do to save face, is put up pictures of dead bodies, blood on the rocks, people tied up in the street. But the fact is, these attacks are heard to the streets. If the eye in the sky comes down, if space-based weapons are fired, if Tomahawk missiles are fired, Maduro is so done. There's no way he can hang on to power. And you know what? Ships, you know, our allies, and even leave United States war reserves for the event that there's a Chinese counterattack. But aside from the fake news, I really wanted to get over to the Chinese in Colombia. So President Ivan Duque, an international banker, Georgetown trained, Jesuit trained, worked with, you know, the BID, Banco Internacional de Desarrollo, the International Development Bank. This guy has got his bread so buttered with the CIA. Everybody wants to call Juan Guaido a CIA cutout, and the one who really is Ivan Duque, the president of Colombia. And so he's double dipping. And I put, listen, there's a video on my page. Just search Gospel Gunslingers, or go to my YouTube page, and there I am walking down the street when he was elected and before he even took power. And I said, Ivan Duque, Colombian president-elect, Rhino, Republican in name only, question mark. Is this guy just shining us on, or is he a real conservative? And I gave all the reasons before he even took the presidency that I didn't trust him and felt like he was a globalist. Okay, so now he's making deals with China. huge investment deals, and you know how it goes. They flood in workers, they flood in people with, you know, they all work for the government. They have rank in the People's Army. And so Chinese power is flooding in, and that's my Twitter there. There are a few things on this subject there, and hey, war's begun. You know, my pinned tweet right there is the president of El Salvador, and he a month ago said, World War III has begun, if you don't know. And so the coronavirus, although we want to see that independently, you know, we want that to be between a man and his doctor. But the fact is, the coronavirus, these are the distance weapons of our age. You know, we don't shoot arrows anymore and then go in slugging and slashing. We have missiles, we have ships, we have aircraft. But then before that, from the longest distance, we go in with biological weapons, with propaganda weapons, with destabilization efforts and things like that. And so that's what the coronavirus is. But I want to know why we got so much swamp going on in Colombia. Colombia is really our weakest ally, but they're right there next to Venezuela on a very populated border. The Brazilian border with Venezuela is desolate jungle, and you know, many miles of very rugged jungle. Guyana also borders, and we probably have a stronger ally in Guyana. There's communism there too. You know, they've been on a razor's edge between a communist and a conservative government. But Guyana is an allied nation that's on the east of Venezuela. We could go in from there. Revolutionaries could go in from there. But here's the deal. Why was the Colombian government chasing Jordan Trudeau's men? Why was the Colombian government persecuting them? Because they were being attacked. They kind of ran a hurry-up offense. They ran a no-huddle offense on this attack because they've been being chased from place to place, and they thought that they couldn't hold out and train any longer. So these guys, it's not like they were, you know, at Camp X in Canada or hanging out in the chow hall at Fort Benning doing push-ups and eating good food and practicing. They were being chased from place to place in the jungle by the corrupt Colombian government that's largely funded by illicit activity and drug trafficking. So we need to get in and drain the swamp there. And this is where the Venezuelan diplomats across the Colombian border in Colombia and in Bogota, they're trying to run their government in exile, but in the midst of a swamp. It's hard to function in a swamp because there's critters biting you all the time. It's full of ticks and leeches and copperhead snakes and all kinds of bad stuff. And so this is Colombia. It's a very, very, very corrupt government. The Catholic Church and the CIA run a whole lot of it. You know, this is the place where the priests say, oh, we're going to exorcise this whole city. We're going to get a military helicopter and we're going to fly over and say, you know, the Vespers and Moderns or whatever, and they're going to sling their holy water out of the helicopter. I know everybody's seen that in the news. Well, the place that happens is Colombia. So what the heck? Why is the Catholic Church pulling that kind of propaganda stunts? They feel like they have so much political power and backing there that they can do that. And for decades, the Catholic Church has had concordats. It's a very, very powerful treaty with the Colombian government. It's a treaty, but it's really more than a treaty. It gives their priests and their nuns and their school teachers public funding. It gives them diplomatic immunity so they can rape all the children that they want. And so you wonder why this nation is just in the grip of crime and poverty. Well, that's why. It has to do with the concordats with the Catholic Church. And that's why we see so many shenanigans. So we really need to clean out our own ally. And this is Trump. He has to rely on his lieutenants to some degree. But I'm telling you at the Pentagon that these are the creeps. These are the crooks. And I'm very disappointed that Jordan's men, that he was just trying to get them together and make a strategy. Why were they being chased from place to place while they were in what's supposedly an allied country? You know, Maduro's men are living large. They're guarding gold mines. They got all the food they want. They got their rations. They've got their weapons. They've got their Russian support. They've got their stables of hookers. And these guys that went in and died on the beach today, Marco, they were real heroes. They didn't have any of that, and they preferred to shed their blood in the land where they were born. And we got to give them props and credit. Hopefully some more people will see that sacrifice and rise up. Hopefully the help of God will arrive.
You think that because most people's spirit is so broken, but you think this will motivate other people to join them and keep fighting and just not let go with the help that there's there's money in the heads of this
It's
leader.
kind of now or never.
It's a now or never. Ahora o nunca.
You can't wait until your team is winning. Yeah, you can't wait till your team's winning to get off the couch and get on the field. Everybody's got to get on the field right now. And listen, Americans, I'm talking to you. You get on the phone. You get on the phone, especially if you're Hispanic, and you tell everybody, your politicians, your neighbors, your president, you tell them that the Americas is our world. It's our free world. This is the new world. This is the free hemisphere. And if we don't stand up and get these dictatorships out, it will topple the United States. It's a mathematical certainty. It's of the Titanic. If we have these kind of leaks, if we have this kind of constant destabilization, it will destroy America. The Chinese will move in there with heavier weapons. They'll mount missiles. They'll put in nukes. It'll go on and on. But right now, we can drive them out. And the war will get bigger, okay? You know, Argentina may come in. We have to blow up the Chinese space base that's on the Patagonian plain. That government went back socialist. And through election fraud and big tech, it was stolen. That nation was stolen from us. Our fish are being stolen from us. And now we have a maritime alliance to crack down on illegal fishing. But the fact is, it's the Chinese that's pointed at. The Chinese are coming in to take over our free hemisphere, and we cannot allow it. And the day to stand up is right now. Right now. What are we going to wait till the election is contested? We're going to wait till the summer's over? We're going to wait for the commies to crush this rebellion and murder everybody in the streets and throw even more people in jail? No, it's got to happen right now. It's got to happen right now. The Americas have to stand up.
So this video right here, it seems that a lot of people are using it as saying that you respect Venezuela, like it's against the opposition, right? They're trying to fear, put fear on the people that are trying to liberate Venezuela.
Right. It's a propaganda ploy. Maduro wants his hold on power is very, very shaky. You know, all the communist leaders, you went past my Twitter and I had a picture of Kim Jong-un with his American counterpart, Boss Hogg. You know, that was a funny joke, but the fact is he'd been in hiding for 20 days. And the leader of Nicaragua was in hiding. We still don't know where he's at. The leadership in Cuba is in hiding. The leadership even in China is in hiding because they don't want to get knocked out with one first missile strike, one tactical missile barrage. So World War III has begun. These leaders have been hiding, and of all of them, the weakest is Maduro. His country's starving to death. He's trying to make backroom, shady, smoke-filled room deals to sell gold that belongs to the people whose blood was shed on the beaches today. He's trying to sell it to the United Nations. He's trying to beg for coronavirus help and supplies and this and that. He's just every day trying to struggle to fund his government. Because the reason that these militares, that these soldiers follow him is because he feeds them good and because they're rich. He pays them, you know. He pays them, and they are an upper class, and then the people are a lower class. And it should never be that way. You know, the military is supposed to be a job of public service as people do their duty. They do their hacen su debe. They serve their nation and their homeland. And it's not that way when you get into a socialist country. The military is its own elite group. They are the bourgeois. They are the bourgeoisie.
Yeah, here you
They
go.
are the oppressor class. And so,
You have
go ahead, Marco.
you have CNN reporting now the attempt of invasion to Venezuela. CNN is reporting as an attempt.
Yeah, and it's all very slanted. It really was not an invasion because the people that I saw interviewed before they went in were Venezuelans. They were the same people that had.
Look what somebody wrote on our YouTube channel. Hands up Venezuela. Isn't that the Maduro hashtag that he had? Hands up Venezuela when he couldn't speak English. Remember?
Yeah, because they want to make it like George Bush wants to go in and steal all their oil. Look, Maduro has already stolen all your oil and all your gold and has polluted all your rivers. Even the naked natives out there catching fish and shooting monkeys with blowguns and bows and arrows are getting mercury poisoning because Maduro has authorized more illegal, environmentally unconscious gold mining because that's the one of the few ways that he can finance his country. He's sneaking it back and forth to Iran on military planes. And so it'd be a big international incident if we were to nail one of those planes. I mean, we watch them all from the satellite, but if we were to hit one of those with a missile and the gold bars went flying all over the jungle, they would scream foul so loud. And so it hasn't happened yet, but it's really a misuse of diplomatic flights that he's been using to sneak gold out that was illegally mined in the first place. So if we're going to talk about somebody wanting to come in and steal resources, the worst offender is this wanted criminal, Nicolas Maduro. Nicolasito is in on it. His son is in on it. His son has been running illegal coltan mines. He's in with the FARC. The FARC is in guarding his illegal mines. He's got a lot going on.
Yeah, everybody's the Guardian is reporting. Everybody's trying to help Maduro there. The mainstream media is trying to help him, but it's crazy.
Yeah, they're gonna try, pero son puras mentiras. Son puras mentiras.
And I'm sure this guy that came on YouTube, because I barely use YouTube for a live stream, but I'm sure they're operatives of Maduro trying to hit back on what you're saying. They're going to be up.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's going to be full of bots. And they want to make us out to be the bad guys. They want to make these people that have gone in to live free or die to be the bad guys. So many Venezuelans in the United States want to go home. When's the last time the Hispanic immigrant was put in the news for wanting to go home? And I've seen many Venezuelans interviewed, and they said, we want to go home, but we need military help to get rid of this dictatorship. We've had to flee that. We got people crossing our border and saying, oh, the gangs are so bad in my nation, I had to flee. And none of those nations are as bad as Venezuela. And we're fighting those gangs. But we need to get in and deal with this dictatorship. It's totally illegal. It's against the Monroe Doctrine. It's against the Inter-American Letter of 2001 at the Organization of American States. It is against all of that. It's against the founding principles of our entire free hemisphere and our entire new world to allow communist bastions to be set up. And we've allowed it, but now it's got to stop. We got to go in and clean it out. And it is hammer time. I want airstrikes today.
So what else have you been doing? I know you've been out there and you've been seeing what's going on. What else have you been doing? I haven't talked to you for about a couple weeks.
Oh, we've been doing a lot. I've been doing a lot of cooking shows. Sometimes what we do is so serious, Marco, that we have to just kind of simmer down and be human. So I've been doing some cooking shows, and of course we make fun of the communists whenever we can. Of course, I've been in quarantine. I got my face mask, and everybody around here has their face masks on as they're walking by.
Hey,
so
you're not afraid to be like that in Mexico? You look like a cholo there.
Well, I put this on. I put this on so I would have the colors of Venezuela. So I would have the colors of Gran Colombia and represent Simón Bolivar Libertador and those Bolivarianos that are fighting this very day.
I don't want
Please, please, when we're done with the show,
to confuse you
please, America, please,
but
America, when we're done with this show, turn your TV off, get off the couch, get on your knees, and talk to God and ask God for his help, that this fight for freedom would go well. And then get up and get on the phone and start making calls. Call everybody. Call the White House. Say, I'm a Honduran. I'm a Venezuelan. I'm from here. My parents came from here. And we love freedom. And we want the American way. And that's what needs to be done in Venezuela. We need to get rid of Maduro.
you know,
So,
Pastor,
yeah.
let me take advantage that you're here. Yes, can you give us a few words, because a lot of people don't talk about being locked up. Themselves, it forces them to really see that person in the mirror, and they don't have any distractions. And a lot of people are turning to drinking. They're turning to, they're going back to old habits. And there's a lot of issues at home, and people are not talking about it. But can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because we can use this time to reinvent ourselves too.
Well, this is a Bible. Most everybody's got one, but this one is mine. Hey, dust that off. And where we're at today is in the book of Judges, in the chapter 6 and chapter 7. So just crack it open and see what they named this operation after. See what happened to Gideon. See what happened. The Lord actually went to Gideon and said, you got too many soldiers with you. He felt like he got a ragtag band together. It was like 20-some thousand. And the Lord said, if you go in and win, even with that inferior force, everybody will think that you did it in your own strength. And that's where the Lord had Gideon whittle down his army. He went in and he said, all right, any of you that's afraid, go home. And then finally, he took them down to the water and he watched how they drank. And the Lord said, by these 300 that drank, they picked up the water in their hand to drink, looked around. He said, with these 300, you'll overcome. And so Gideon went down with very, very few men against a massive army. But what else? The Lord confused and frightened that army, and they knew that the hand of God was against them. And he defeated them and he destroyed them. And let me tell you, there was fake news in those days. You read about Gideon as he's going after these kings, and there were two kings called Zeba and Zalmunna, and Gideon went and asked for help from different towns. He went and he asked for help here and there, and the people said, oh, is Maduro's head in your hand? Are Zeba and Zalmunna with you? And you know what? Gideon said, when I come back with Zeba and Zalmunna, I'm going to destroy this tower in your city. He said that to one town. The other town, he said, I'm going to chastise your wuss political leaders with the briars of the wilderness. And sure enough, Gideon came back after defeating those kings without the help of those cities. He came back and he had the two kings. One of them had a gold ornament on his camel's neck. Even his camel had gold bling on it. And this weighed probably hundreds of ounces, his gold camel neck ornament. Anyhow, they brought them before the city, and Gideon had a list of 70 elders. And he went and got every one of them and had his men hold them down, and he took thorn bushes and whipped them. So guess what? It's not a new idea to go out with an inferior force. It's not a new idea to be a small man in a big man's world. It's not a new idea to get left high and dry by the people who could have help. But you know what? God helped. And Gideon led his nation into a golden age. It's really worth checking out. So yes, America, dust off your Bible and know that this is coming to you. Sooner or later, you can join the resistance today, or you can wait for it to come to you. But if it comes to you, you might be the one spread eagle on the ground getting whipped with some thorns. Slovenliness. It's a very prevalent problem in my own nation, the US of A.
Wow. Awesome, Pastor. Awesome. You know, it's just
There's a lot going on.
Okay. Go ahead.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And this struggle in Latin America, it's not far away. This is in the neighborhood. It's your struggle. There's military action in Guam. There's bombers in the air. There's ships at sea. We're trying to deal with the virus as pertains to our ships at sea. We've got ships at sea that can't come into port because they're clean of the virus. It's a very critical time. It's a time to pray that God will grant us one last golden age. Because, you know, the mark of the beast could just sweep over us all. Tyranny could just run us all over. Our own swamp, our own wickedness, our own incest in our own neighborhood, and our blended marriages and all of our his, hers, and ours kids. All of those things could catch up with us, and the Lord could cause the sword to pass through our land. So it's really dependent on what America does. If we get our Bibles dusted off in time, and if we get a tiny bit of faith to believe and to learn from these battles of those that have gone before, just maybe the Lord will grant us victory. It's so far from certain what's happening in Venezuela. These men might just get their wish to go and die in their own homeland. They may die in prison, or they may strike a critical blow. You know, what if Tariq al-Assisi falls in this battle? What if one of these $10 million heads of state, what if Diosdado Cabello is killed in this battle? Everything could change. What if Maduro's lieutenants turn against him? So many things could go wrong for him. But it happens when we pray. When we pray and humble ourselves and ask for the help of God and remove the wicked things from us, that's when he goes out with our armies. It's not too late. Almost, but not quite. We can stand up today. Thanks for having me, Marco.
Pastor,
everybody pray for the Americas.
Can you send a message to the Venezuelans right now? Just something that if we could just somehow tell them that Hispanics, I'm Mexican, there's a lot of other Hispanics that we are with Venezuela. Estamos con Venezuela. Can you send a message to them?
Okay. Oye, venezolanos, aquí estamos en México, en Paseo Bolivar, vestidos en los colores de Gran Colombia, aquí en el pueblo donde han morido tantos revolucionarios, donde han derivado tanto sangre de ellos en su tiempo. Aquí estamos juntamente consigo en espíritu. Esperamos que la lucha va a seguir, que va a ser éxito, que la ayuda de Dios se va a llegar, que la ayuda de Donald Trump, que las armas espaciales, las armas navales, las misiles modernas van a llegar y van a pegar a nuestros enemigos. Esperamos que ellos se van a desmayar de corazón y pelear uno en contra del otro, como ha pasado tantas veces en la Biblia. Estamos orando por ustedes, estamos con ustedes, somos muchos nuestros primos en nuestro continente libre y no les vamos a dejar en el nombre de Jesús. Sigue. Petición a Dios y cree, estamos consigo. Amén.
Amén. Gracias, Pastor. Que tenga un buen día. Le tengo tanta envidia de que usted pueda ir a comer comida mexicana ahorita.
Así es, muchos están cerrados, pero yo hago en mi propia cocina y en mi cuenta de Twitter hay muchas recetas de cosas buenas mexicanas. Yo soy el peor roba recetas en este pueblo. Yo aprendo las recetas y las especias que se ponen en cada cosa y los enseño al mundo para que los gringos saben.
Pues gracias, venezolanos. Que viva Simón Bolívar.
Amén.
Hasta pronto.
Bye.